Lord, everybody. I hope everybody has gotten satisfied with that lunch. I'm excited about what we're going to hear in this afternoon session. And so we're going to turn this over again to Brother Hughes. And everybody say, Lord bless Brother Hughes.
Lord bless Brother Hughes.
Thank you. Again, it's a great honor it is to be here today. Hope and pray that something I say helps you in your walk with God. Let's go back to my chart. In the beginning of the study of families, why are these particular numbers important? Let's start with the last one. Why is this one important? How long did God promise us? What's half a century? So guess what 35 is?
Midlife.
This is midlife, whether we want to admit it or not.
Somebody's been trying to convince me of that for a few years.
What's important about 18?
I know.
It is the only time in your life that you write the end. At the end of your life, somebody else writes the end because you're not around. So this is the only time in your life that you get to write the end. What's at the end of? Childhood. You can't take it past there. If you do, you cause nothing but problems. Now, the odds are real high that most of us have taken it past. Let me show you why. Why are these two numbers important? What's 6 and 12? Well, if you ever took a course on child development, all of them that I read and studied back from the 70s and 80s said that by 6, 85% of all these life skills are learned. However, there's something else developed here that we don't pay attention to. By 6 years of age, anger is cast and conquered. Anger is God's gift to you to let you know if you're in danger. Your world has discovered that it can be a source of pleasure. So they've taught us how to be addicted to it instead of discovering what its real purpose is. See, anger is supposed to let me know that the environment I'm in is not healthy. It's dangerous. It's going to cause us a problem. But our world has discovered that adrenaline rush is enjoyable. So they've taught us how to make it a drug of choice. The Bible says to be angry and what? So when is anger a sin? When you use it as a weapon. When anger becomes the resource that I use to attack somebody, I've used it as a weapon. So we don't come into this world happy. We come into this world screaming at everybody in the room. And we discover that's the way to get what you want. Scream at people. And until mom and dad get that out of us, we use it to get whatever we want. If you're hungry, you'll scream. If you're thirsty, you'll scream. If the child needs a diaper change, what's it do? It screams. And they use it as a source of communication that has to change. But by 6, anger is cast and conquered. Whatever you were allowed to learn or use with anger by 6 years of age has become your permanent resource. That's the way you'll always use it. Well, there are two survival instincts, anger and fear. Fear is not developed until between 6 and 12, and by 12, fear is cast in concrete. A 2-year-old is not afraid of anything. You can put them in a room full of snakes and they'll pick them up and play with them. You have to teach them to be afraid. And they pick that up from parents. If it's cast in concrete by 6 and 12, if fear or anger ever show up, that's where I live. So, if anger shows up, my greatest mental capacity is 6. I can't think past a 6-year-old. 6-year-old Dennis the Menace didn't need any help terrorizing Mr. Wilson. 6-year-olds don't need help terrorizing the neighborhood. So if anger shows up, you don't need any help terrorizing your house, your neighborhood, people. Our world applauds it. And as a result, we're just seeing all kinds of chaos happen because we've changed what it should be. Fear. There's not a ride in any amusement park that has a long line unless it has a sign that says you have blood pressure problems, if you have heart problems, if you're expecting a child, and it'll list 7 to 12 different diseases. If you've got any of these, don't get on this ride. And the line's usually an hour and a half long. Does that keep people from riding it? No. When my children were in their middle teens, they talked my wife and I into taking them to Astroworld. Well, they had just created a new ride. It was a steel pipe about 20 foot in diameter that went straight up in the air about 150, 200 feet. On top of it was steel plate with all these beams that came off, looked like spokes, and on the end of that beam, they had bolted a pulley to it, and a cable went through that beam inside that pipe into the ground, and on this end of that cable was a bicycle seat with a cage over it. So you get on this bicycle seat, this cage comes down over you so you can't fall off, and they take you straight up in the air. When you get to the top, it makes a funny sound, whoa, whoa, whoa. On the third one, it releases and you free fall. And just before you smack the ground, they put the brakes on. If you didn't have herniated discs before you got as fast as they stop it, there's no way you're not going to have a bone disc when you get too far. So my son wants to ride it. And he said, Dad, I want to ride it. I said, okay. Well, you're not going to ride it? No. I want to leave that in my life. Come on, Dad, ride it with me. No. But I want to ride it. Go in line. I'll wait. Dad, it'll be an hour and a half. So I don't care. I'm going to stand here and watch people. Because if you watch, they have cameras on every one of those chairs and they follow you up and follow you down. And if you walk around the corner, they're going to sell it to you if you want a copy of it. So you see what you look like going up and see what you look like coming down. He said, you sure you'll wait? I said, yeah, I'm going to have fun just watching. So he went and got in line. About 15 minutes later, I watched 2 people get in line. And I'm thinking, you got at least 3 of those diseases on that list. What in the world are you getting in this line for? Surely you're not going to ride it. And I'm watching them, and they're trying to convince each other, this is not Grandma and Grandpa. This is great-grandma and great-grandma. These people that were at least 70 years of age, they could have been closer to 80. And they get in this line, they're talking to one another, and my son, he rides it and comes down, and he gets off. I said, you want to do that again? No, Dad, I don't ever want to do that. So that one time took care of me. Yes. So now you understand why I didn't need it in my life. Yes. Let's go. I said, no. He said, why not? So we're going to stay here for a few minutes. Why? So look in line. And when he saw it, his eye got big. He said, Dad, they're not riding this early. It looks like it. Let's watch. It's okay. So about 15 minutes later, great-grandma and great-grandpa came out and got on chair number 8 and 9. Cage comes down over them, all the other chairs gets full, and up they go. Well, as they go up, you can't see them, they're too high. So as you look at that camera, the monitor behind you, you can see, you can watch them as they're talking to each other as they're going up, and they're saying to each other, this is going to be fun, and they get to the top, and it goes, whoa, 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 and when the trigger tripped, she nearly lost her false teeth. They're half hour now, half in her mouth. Her eyes are huge. She knows she needs to scream, but she can't scream. And he is cussing everybody. He's screaming like a little kid. Plunge the ground, put the brakes on, get off. You would think they'd look at one another and say, oh, wow, we just lost 10 years of our life. We might as well go home, get ready to die, because we just lost a whole lot of life. She grinned at him. Said, you want to do it again? And then got back right. Because our world has taken fear and made it pleasure. We have no true clue when we're in danger. So when our homes get invaded with stuff that's going to destroy it, we don't have any way of recognizing that this is not healthy. If fear shows up, you can't think past a 12-year-old. Now, this 26-year-old, 12-year-old? 12-year-olds are gangsters. They run in packs. 6-year-olds don't need help. So if anger shows up, you just terrify everybody by yourself. If fear shows up, it's going to be a team effort. You're going to call your friends, your sisters, your brother. You're going to do it as a joint effort. You're not going to do it by yourself. So 95% of the time, the issues of our life are addressed by fear and anger. Because we haven't been taught any other way to do it. And we're just responding because that's what the world does. And it's okay. When it's not okay, it's destructive. But we've got to make a decision about how we're going to live life and the value we're going to place on people and determines how we're going to react to them and respond to them. I've made it my business to make my wife's life the best life she could ever enjoy or have. That's what Jesus is doing for me. So don't you think I ought to repeat that at my house and make my house the best place that my children can live? They don't have to live in fear. I was in Hawaii on vacation. I traveled almost 4 million miles in 4 years. And so I had a whole lot of air miles. I have kept all of them because I took my family places. So I had saved enough miles to take my daughter and her children, and then a few years later, took my son and his children. And I had my daughter and her children in Hawaii. My phone rings at 4 o'clock in the morning. Startled me. And I'm wondering, what in the world? Someone called me at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I walk outside on the balcony so I don't wake anybody. I answer the phone. And a dad is calling. And conversation began like this. Well, Hughes, where are you? Well, I'm in Hawaii with my family on vacation. Man, I need you right now. Well, that's not possible. I'm at least 8 hours away by plane. And I don't plan on coming home until next Wednesday. And we've got this, we need an intervention with my son. He's about to wreck his life. So I listened and I said, well, I'm sorry, but I'll be home Wednesday morning. I'm going to fly all night to get there. I probably won't be in the best frame of mind to talk to anybody about any problem on Wednesday. I can meet you Thursday, but that's as soon as I can be. You saw what I discovered, most people's chaos is really not that important. If they live with it up to now, a couple more days, it's not gonna destroy anything. So, I said, but you gotta promise me you'll do something. I said, okay, what? I said, you better let your son know what we're about to do. Don't drag your 45-year-old son into a meeting without telling him what's gonna take place. Okay, I'll be sure to do that. Well, got home, pulled up to church, and get out and start to go in, and a car pulled up beside me, and I watched the young man get out. And I'm thinking, I can see the expression on his face. He has no clue why he's here. So, we walk inside. He said, well, Hughes, what are we doing here? I said, your dad didn't talk to you? No. He just said, we need to meet. So I said, well, you'll have to wait till he gets here, because I'm not totally sure what this is all about, but I got an idea, but we'll find out when he gets here. So his dad shows up and goes in this long spiel about, we're doing an interdiction today, son, because you're out of control. And you let anger do this to you. And he just went on, and I'm watching the boy. And first I can see the hurt show up in his face. The hurt that his dad doesn't think enough of him to start a conversation with him. And his dad starts saying, you know, I failed you, son. I had such an anger problem that I had to have an interdiction and to be delivered from anger. There is nobody going to get delivered from anger. God put it there. Why is God going to remove it? It's not going to happen. You don't need to be delivered. You need to learn how to control it and learn what his purpose is. So he just goes on and on about, your wife called me, she's terrified of you, and so he sat patiently. I could watch tears run down his face occasionally. His dad wasn't even paying attention. Finally, he said, Dad, I think you'd be real angry too if you discovered your wife loved your best friend more than she loves you. And that you know she's involved with him. Am I angry? Yes. But you have no clue what she's doing. And she is transferring on me, and I'm the one who has an anger problem. What he didn't know at the time was she had a child by his best friend. He was raising it thinking it's his. And there's no reason to have this. See, anger is to let us know there's a problem. Start asking where the problem is. What's caused the problem? Why do I feel threatened? Why is my brain saying this is not safe? And if you'll ask that question, you'll always find the answer. You'll discover real quick what's producing a world where you're not safe. Marriage works, but all of us have to work at it to make it work. And it's a good idea to write the end right here and leave childhood. Not drag childhood into my marriage or my home or my relationship. I got to become an adult. You know what I discovered about getting old? You don't mellow with age. The 73-year-old version of James Hughes is not better than the 21-year-old version. Matter of fact, he's lost his filter. He's lost his patience. He has a tendency to just say what he thinks, which is not always a good idea. I have a routine I have to go through every morning. And I look at the mirror and say, you know what, you are not my friend. You're going to try to wreck my world today. And you're going to try to wreck the world of the people I love today. And you're going to use every opportunity you can to cause chaos. So me and you are at war. You're not my friend. You're my enemy. I'm going to fight you every minute of the day. Before I go to bed tonight, we're going to have a conversation second time. And then this conversation second time, I'm going to ask you who won. If by chance you win, tomorrow you don't get breakfast. You don't get lunch. You don't get supper. If I don't get your attention, next day you don't get breakfast. You don't get lunch. You don't get supper. I don't get your attention. I've only had to go 3 days. It don't take me a long time to get this flesh under control. You can control it if you want. It's where the problem is. Yep. See, the day you become a child of God, Paul says, Colossians letter, first chapter, you have been delivered from the power of darkness. That means you have been liberated from the control, the authority, and the dominance of darkness. Satan no longer has access to my life. He can't control me. He can't put thoughts in my mouth. He can't put words in my or thoughts in my mind, words in my mouth. He has no ability to do those things to me because I have been delivered from his authority. And I've been translated in the kingdom as your son. That means you're put on a boat, sail across the Mediterranean Sea, and forced to live in Rome till you run the Roman way. So he put me on a boat, separated me by water. That's why baptism is so important. That's how you get separated by water from your old life. And you become a child of God. Satan no longer controls me. But here's the problem. I'm freed from Satan's control, but I'm not freed from my control. So now I have to work on this guy that causes everybody a problem. And I have to work on my attitudes and whether or not I'm allowing myself to act like a 2-year-old, throw a fit, break things. We helped a family move. They had pictures in strange places, way down on the floor, halfway up the wall. And as we started taking the pictures off to move them, discovered holes in the wall behind every one of those pictures. Some of them were rounded on top, and the others rippled across the top. One was from fists, the other was from shoes. But when he got mad, he just kicked a hole in the wall or punched a hole in the wall. He didn't hit nobody. But everybody at that house knew what was behind that picture. He didn't even take time to fix it. He just wanted everybody to know I could do this to you if you don't pay attention. That's what a child does, not an adult. What's the difference between a child and an adult? An opinion. That is the only difference. And if you don't have the right to have an opinion, you are reduced to childhood. Your behavior will be childish, your action will be childish. We don't have to agree. Kids are the ones who can't. If you don't play with my rules, I'll take my marbles and go home. As a kid, we made fun of people's cars. Ford, found on the road dead. I've been on Ford for the last 20 years. I don't care what kind of car you drive. I'm not going to make fun of it. I buy what's cheap. What can I get the best deal on? It doesn't matter if it's a Honda, a Kia, a Ford, a Chevrolet. It doesn't matter. See, adults can agree to disagree. You don't have to agree on everything. But if you refuse to let someone have an opinion, then everybody at your house can act like a child. That's the only option you have. So we gotta write the end at some point in our life where childhood no longer is part of our adulthood. And my problem is I can't see me. Now you look at an old body and you see wrinkles and loss of hair and you see blemishes and sagging skin and all kinds of stuff. I don't see none of that. Your brain's ageless. My kids won't let me climb a ladder. And I just tell them, go home. I'm going to turn off the ladder and I'm going to get on that ladder. Because you're too old, you'll fall off. No, my brain says I'm still about 20, but my body says I'm 100. Wore it out. The good thing about heaven is that new body. I'm looking for that because this one's been repaired too many times. I've got 2 new hips and I have a new joint in my toe that my body don't like, so now they got to take it out. That's just life. Things heart don't beat fast enough. So got up to 33 beats a minute, and they said that's just too slow. So now it never stopped below 60. Now I got all this energy. I want to do stuff, and they're telling me, no, you can't. I tell them, go home. Life is simple. It is not complicated. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to have a good life. You just have to pay attention. And when I read the book of Leanne, and then I got 2 more books not long after that. One's called Anthony, the other's called Jill. Then they grew up and I got inherited Brim and Kip. And then they started reproducing, and then I inherited Britton, Adam, Addison, Adrienne, and Sophia, Wiley, and Brett, and Braden. Now I've got Hunter, and Booth, and now another one on the way. I'm getting new books I got to read all the time because they're all different. What worked for one didn't work for the other. My kids are like daylight and dark. I mean, they're so total opposite. You say, Anthony, go to your room. Okay. Walk off to his room. Stay for hours. Grounding him didn't work. Jill, go to your room. Oh, Mom, please don't send me in my room. You know I can't stand to be alone. Jill, go to your room. How long? 30 minutes. Please set the timer. I don't know how much more times I'll talk. Jill, it's only been 10 minutes. Shut the door. Oh, Mom, you know I can't stand to be alone. How much more? 20 minutes. You got 10 left. Shut the door. They're not alike. So you got a different book you got to read. And what worked for this one, or you could paddle Anthony, he'd just tremble. He'd never cry, never shed a tear. Well, if you hurt him, you're abusing him. And that's the only heaven or hell issue Jesus addressed, is abusing kids. You realize that? Should be better to cut your foot off, cut your hand off, than to hurt one of these little ones. Pluck your eye out than to offend one of these little. That's an issue God hates. Well, paddling didn't work. Grounding didn't work. So we discovered he loved money. So he got fined. And he didn't only get fined, he had to go to the store and watch his sister spend it. Why do y'all think that's bad? It worked. All you had to do is say, Anthony, that's $5. Okay, Dad, I promise. And he'd straighten his act up in a heartbeat. Wow. You could threaten her with everything and she'd keep doing it. You can't ever quit learning. And you never figure them out. So you start inheriting new things you have to study on a regular basis. If you do, you have an incredible life. You can't, as an adult, drag childhood into it. marriages don't work when the adults are acting like children. You know what research says? If the adults start, then your children will take over your roles as parent. And one of them become the parent. One of them take over dad place, and one of them take over mom place. And your kids need adults, not children. We have to pay attention. Our world's empowering them. You know, we live in this Peter Pan syndrome. We don't want to grow up. We're Toys R Us kids. No, I need to be an adult and act like an adult. My great-grandson doesn't need a child. He needs an old man acting like an old man. That's where I'm at. That's who I am. All I gotta do is go look in that mirror and it'll wake me up real quick. Behave. Don't scream. Don't break things. Don't throw things. One family went through 3 sets of dishes in the first 3 years of marriage. They were clumsy. They give their house the distress look. All the door frames have these little circle marks where they on the plate or saucer at one another. Pentecostals who shout and run the aisle. That's what we do. It's not what the world does, that's what we do. We just have to get honest. What's causing the struggles? So I challenge you to take the time to figure out how valuable your wife is or your husband. If they're your diamond, you'll have the greatest marriage you could ever imagine. If they're no pair of shoes, you'll wear them every opportunity you have. You'll care. Where your treasure is, who said that? Where your treasure is, for your heart. Out of the abundance of the heart, mouth speaketh. Solomon said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So when my marriage becomes the most valuable thing in life, I invest everything I can to make it valuable. God never intended for men and women to be friends. He never intended that. He created Adam and Eve for one reason: marriage. Friendship will always turn into courtship. So now, let's take these two and put them together. Let me show you one other thing. 1900 in America, 1940. All incredibly significant dates. If you go to the CDC and you start checking the statistics on marriage and divorce, they started keeping them in the mid-1800s, and they're part of the census. So they started tracking marriage and divorce. From the middle 1800s until 1940, the divorce rate fluctuated less than 0.3 of a point. So that would be 0.0003. It was nothing more than just this little ripple in society. From 1940 to 1946, the divorce rate jumped 1,200%. And the adultery rate jumped 6,000%. From 46 to 50, it falls back down, not quite to the same level at 40, starts increasing to 60. From 60 to 66, you get a second spike. It starts dropping to 70. it started increasing, and then all of a sudden there's this incredible increase because of that law they passed it for no-fault divorce. And then from 1980, even though it's increasing, there's another spike from 80 to 86. 40, 60, 80. What caused that? This part is so irritating to me that everybody knows this. All politicians, doctors, lawyers, all know this. But it will never be addressed. What happened? Why is there a 1200% divorce rate? A spike in 6 years. Why did that take place? What caused it? In 1950, 5% of children that were born in urban America were illegitimate. In 1985, 80% of children born in urban America are illegitimate. How'd that happen? How'd we get here? There's a cause. What caused all this? What caused this first one? I can tell you this one and this one are simple. This is the product of this, and this is the product of this. The 60s, I'm a teenager. I'm growing up in all this mess. It's when kids who were raised in a broken home become teenagers. And there was so much chaos they were living with, they couldn't handle the chaos. So drug addiction became an epidemic in America in the 60s. First time in history. Well, there's been a little bit of a struggle with addictions in the past, but there had never been the addiction that showed up in the 60s. See, drugs, alcohol are numbing agents. They're never used because they help us. They numb us. They've always been a numbing agent. When you have to learn to drink something because it tastes nasty, you got to develop a taste for it? That tells you this, it's not what you're taking or drinking. It's an addiction. You're using it to numb something. So, what caused the 40 to 46 spike? Anybody want to guess? Say it a little louder so I can hear.
They removed the Bible teaching, the Bible in the school.
That happened after 50s, but you're right. That's one. When that happened, then the Bible comes out of the schools and all that instantly thereafter. What happened from 40 to 47?
Women started working outside the home.
First time in the history of man, one was actively recruited out of the home in the workforce. Well, you take man and woman, put them in the same environment, and just let them work together, and then friendships develop. Conversations develop. And according to what they discovered, 60 hours of conversation will produce sex. You don't have enough Holy Ghost to stop it. You just keep conversation going, you keep talking, you just add it up. 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there. You keep adding all those up, you get 60 hours involved. You're going to touch somebody. See, there are 3 signs of a healthy family. They talk, trust, and touch. My ability to have a conversation defines what I trust. My ability to trust defines what I touch. Conversation is the only tool that produces trust. So when you talk to somebody, you start giving them information they can criticize. So you start talking to them about casual things. First of all, it's usually the weather, sport, politics, something doesn't matter. And you're watching them. If they act like you're weird or strange or they say, that's stupid, that conversation never goes any deeper. If they listen and pay attention and act like your words have value, it touches us, it strokes our ego. So we start giving more and more information that can be criticized. So once you get past your casual conversation, you start inserting opinions. And you start telling them your opinion about things, and if they don't make fun of your opinions, you trust them more. Once you think and understand they won't violate you because of your opinion, then you tell them your fears, then your failures, then your secrets. It takes a long time to get secrets. You don't just walk in somebody's presence and tell them your secrets. If you do, you got something wrong with you. They'll lock you up. You don't just blab your eye. There's a process of letting somebody in, and conversation is that tool. So when you communicate, you trust, you communicate, you trust, you communicate, you trust. And without even realizing what you're doing, you start letting walls down. Well, when conversation gets far enough along and you trust it enough, then there's going to be a pat on the hand, a touch on the arm, a pat on the back, then an embrace. And according to every textbook on introduction to psychology, a full body embrace, when you walk up to somebody and put your arms around them from the front, is the second, there's two more rungs before sex. It's not the beginning of a relationship. You walk up that ladder and you're right at the point of having a physical connection, and your brain don't even realize it. So we don't think about it. By the time we got there, all the stop mechanisms that your brain keeps saying, you've ignored. And so once you ignore them, brain can't stand confusion. So it literally unplugs the verbs. It brings messages that you ignore. So when pleasure starts sending these messages and the brain keeps ignoring them, then you just start disconnecting that pathway and another pathway, and before long, there are no pathways to get messages to your conscience. So your conscience can analyze what you're doing, decide if it's right or wrong. And when the conscience is checked out, by definition, you're a sociopath. You don't care who you hurt or how you hurt them. It's just about you. And then, boom, problem happens. And now it screams at you. So you're either going to bury it or confess it. If you bury it, it'll eventually show up because you can't keep it secret. If you confess it, there's a great possibility that you'll fix it. If you bury it, you'll never fix it. And when it comes out, you'll only reveal what you want somebody to know, nothing more. So you never tell the whole story. God never intended for men and women to be friends. I have no female friends. My wife's got a best friend. They've been friends for 50-something years. When she calls our phone, when we had a landline, which we don't have anymore, when she'd call our house and say, "Is Leanne there?" My response wasn't, "Well, hey Denise, how are you doing? How's Steve? How are the kids?" My response was, "No, she's at the store. She's got her cell phone. You'll call her, the cell phone, you get it. Okay, thanks, bye." No conversation. I've had too many of these sessions where I hear things like, "How'd I get here? This was never in any of my intentions. I never intended to get here. How'd I get here?" I'm tired of it. We get there because we think we don't have to have barriers. God never intended men and women to be friends. He intended them to be married. And friendship is always going to turn into courtship. That little lady at my house, she knows how all you ladies think. I don't. And there have been several times in my life she said, James, you better pay attention to that one because she is trouble. Don't talk to them, don't be around them, she's trouble. Just listen to me, she's trouble.
Amen.
Thank you. You warned me. It wasn't long before we discovered that she was involved with him, and it wasn't him, and it involved him. This stuff don't happen by accident. So, once married, oh, well, they were my friend in high school. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And Facebook's made idiots out of all of us. Private inbox. An 88-year-old. 88. Great-granddaughter taught him how to make a Facebook page. Connect with his friends, family. A few weeks later, he calls great-granddaughter and says, what's a private inbox? Somebody sent you a message. They don't want anybody else to see it. Now, that doesn't cause anybody a problem. Why are you entertaining things that they don't want nobody else seeing? That ought to be a red flag to start with. Well, if you'll do this, you can open it, and you'll read. And the message wasn't. It said, "Are you so and so from this city to graduate from this high school in this year?" Well, the answer to all those were yes. So what do you think he wrote back? Yes. A few weeks later, that little flag, whatever it is, I don't have a Facebook page, don't even know how to get on it. I do know computer programming, so I can write code. But I'm not going to have one of those things in my life, because if you just own the page, you increase your chance of divorce by 35%. There's too much of an opportunity for secret things. 80% of all divorce decrees filed in America mention Facebook. 80%. Today, divorce in America, 80% of it's caused by Facebook connections. You know, we were really strong on TVs at one time, but we've embraced this thing as if it's our great grandmother that we've lost in life. 88. A few weeks later, it says, I'm your high school sweetheart. So I start talking. Well, a month later, he informs the family, I'm not living the rest of my life unhappy. And left. How much more life does an 88-year-old have? If you put up with it to this point, what is wrong with your brain? So what it's done to us? Let me tell you why technology is so evil. It will never trigger one of your defensive mechanisms. Because all your defensive mechanisms are triggered by your senses. What you see, smell, hear, taste, touch. You get all these messages and your brain is looking at your environment. There's your wife, there's your daughter, there's your son. And your brain says you're safe. And you're not safe. When Steve Jobs invented the smartphone, he gave his engineers instruction. This is recorded in history. We want to create a device that people think they own, but it eventually owns them. And that's exactly what's happened. You want to wreck people's life? Call a media fast. Call a 2-month media fast and see how much griping and complaining you hear from everybody, because we can't exist without media. Really? First of all, it's not social. That's a lie to start with. There's nothing social about it. It's gossip. Yeah, the biggest gossips out in the world? Absolutely. Furthermore, I don't care what you eat. Or what you eating. So why would you think that the world needs to know where you're at, what you're doing? What's caused us to become so selfish and self-centered that we think the world revolves around us and our behavior? My friend says, I don't have Facebook because I don't want to know how many friends I don't have. So all those we call friends, they're not friends. They're these people who want to snoop into your life and see what you're doing. That's all it is. Do something dumb and then take a picture of it. See how many good compliments you get from it. That's stupid. What'd you do that for? Did you lose your brain or something? They're not going to smile at you and be happy about it. You're going to get challenged, and then you're going to get upset that they had the nerve to say those things about me. My grandson got a good introduction to all this social media stuff. That's what he wanted to do. He will be a YouTuber, and so he's 9 years old. He does this little thing with bottles, flipping them, and he finally got one of them to land right, and he posted it. And the first comment he got back was, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life." It cursed this little girl. He came and said, "Papa, look better." He said, "I told you that wasn't good for you, so, you learn." People don't care. And they're not going to say good things about you. So why in the world do you have that kind of stuff in your life? Grandpa left home, marriage, kids, moved in with that woman. He was pastor of a church. Left. Threw her all away. Because he's not spending the rest of his life unhappy. Wow. So that's what 40 to 46 did to us. 60 is these kids raised here. Now, they start repeating the same behavior for no reason other than that's what they were taught. How do you define normal? Normal is defined by the environment you grew up in. Your normal could be abnormal. I've heard lots of people say to me, "Well, my dad he beat me, and look at me, I'm okay." It hadn't affected me. He just beat his kid and caused all kinds of chaos in his house, but it hadn't affected me. So your sense of normal could be abnormal. What we think is okay is not okay. Okay, remember this right here? I left this up for a reason. Remember this right here? What happens during this time? Female discovers who she is, the male discovers who he is. Who teaches the female? Dad, who teaches the male? And divorce, who got the kids? Mom. So which one of the kids would be affected by? Would it be the boy or the girl? Girl, because dad's not there. Well, what happened right here? Called sexual revolution. Women's lib. Produced by two females raised without dad. Jewish females raised without fathers. Feinstein and Stein. That first generation divorce destroys the female. Second generation divorce destroys who? The woman was raised without dad, had a male as a child. What happens? So what happened from 80 to 86 in America right here? That's when America was sold the idea that homosexuality is genetic. Coming out of homosexual society. And they went to the ad agencies of New York City and figured out how to market it so that everybody would accept it without any problems. biggest group of pedophiles that exists because they target little kids. That's who they are. My language is too blunt for this world. But it's fact. Now, it's never come back down from 80. It just exploded. Now we can't even tell, we can't even define what a family is. We can't even define what female is. What's a female? It's amazing they haven't ever had a problem defining what male is. Look at our world. What causes chaos? A war. And the sad part of it is, every politician knows this. See, the statistics say that 80% of children raised in single-parent families raise their children in single-parent families. 85% of all prison inmates come from fatherless homes, male and female. That's the staggering. 90% of runaways come from fatherless homes. 80% of rapists come from fatherless homes. 85% of children with behavioral disorders come from fatherless homes. Well, the curse of America is the absence of dad in kids' lives, and they've almost made dad to have no value at all. They never try to appeal to the male, they only try to appeal to the females. So this is this vicious cycle to trap people in their world where they never get out. And the fact is, it's not the way it's supposed to be. They know and refuse to even admit America's problem with drugs, alcohol, addictions, prison problems. 95% of two-parent intact families in America live above the poverty level. Poverty is a product of single-parent homes. They know that. But are they going to talk about making the home stronger? Driving here yesterday, there was a radio talk show guy in Houston. I just happened to put it on my phone, put it through my radio on my car, and his whole session yesterday was about Valentine's Day. But he said, he started off by saying, if we've bought into this "Make America Great Again," why don't we make marriage great again and make family great again? And I can guarantee you, if we would do that, we'd change our world, everybody else's world. That home is the most important thing in everybody's life. Your life, your kids' life, your grandkids' life, your great-grandkids' life. And we need to do everything we can to keep it as healthy and whole as possible. Okay, I got 4 other principles to teach you in 30 minutes. And I can do it. Second principle of every relationship is values. Put S on the end of the first one. Now, value and values are not just the plural form of value. Values is the vault and security system you build to put your diamond in. So the values you create in your home is the vault and security system you create to put what's valuable in your home in, so that it's never destroyed. And values are principles of life. If they're absent, you are affected. It harms you. It hurts you. It makes you defective. There are 9 things I'm going to talk about real quickly that if they're absent in your life, you're going to suffer as a result of them. First value is safety. Without safety in a home, nobody there can be healthy. Because if the home is not safe, then everybody there just survives. And you get up surviving, you go to bed surviving, you get up surviving, you never change. So you've got to look at your home and make sure it's the safest place in your community, and that there's no place safer than your home. It's safe for your wife, your husband, for your children. Gotta be safe. The next thing is love. Love is, all these things are gifts, by the way. No one earns them. Nobody earns your love. It took grandkids to figure that out. They're not lovable. I like it. I got 5 little granddaughters. I watched them all grow up. Got a little boy, he never said any of these things to me. All 5 of them, here's what I heard. You're not my boss, you can't tell me what to do. I don't like you. I'm not gonna be your friend over there. There's nothing lovable about that. You don't tell a 60-year-old you're not my boss. You just reach over and tap your nose and say, honey, I got a revelation for you. I'm your boss. I'm your daddy's boss. I'm your mama's boss. I'm the boss for everybody at this house. You have met the boss. You think that 6-year-old said, oh, Papa, thank you for the revelation. I just didn't know. She stood there with that head down. When I got through, she walked off. I heard, Mama, you ain't my boss. You're not that big. There's nothing lovable about it. You will grab it by the neck, take it downstairs, put it in his parents' lap, say, you take that home. When it can grow up and treat me right, then you can bring it back. You didn't treat me like that, and you sure didn't say things like that to me. Do you want to love it? So you pick up a 6-year-old. She starts pushing. She said, it's okay, honey. Let's go in another room. We walk into another room where the other 4 are not at. Honey, what's wrong? Papa, you have no clue what it's like to be a 6-year-old. I probably don't. I think I'm lying, but maybe I don't. What's the problem? They can't make up their mind. We've been trying to play a game for hours, and they can't make up their mind. So I made a game up. It was simple. I told them the rule, and Papa, they won't follow the rules. I said, honey, I'm talking to 70-year-olds that don't follow the rules. We can love people who don't love us. Love's a gift. It's based on how valuable they are. If they're valuable, you love them. If they're not, you don't. Trust is a gift. Nobody earns it. I don't care if they violate your trust. They'll never earn it back. It's a gift you choose to give them because they're valuable to you. Forgiveness is a gift. Nobody earns it. You choose to forgive people when they hurt you, violate you. It's your choice. Honesty and truth is a gift. You don't have to be truthful with people. You don't have to be honest. It's a gift. You're truthful with your mate, or are you? You don't give them something in the vicinity, you tell them where you're at. You know, technology has allowed me to not have to tell them. Because they know. Well, what are you doing at Walmart? I'm shopping. What are you shopping for? Well, I'm buying some Christmas presents. You buy me something, you have to wait and see. Why don't they have a right to know? My life's going to affect theirs. It keeps me honest. When I know they're tracking me, it makes me a little bit more cautious about what I might do and what I might not do. My wife has a right to know. We keep up with each other. Why? Because I love her. I don't want her breaking down on the side of the road. I want something happening that I don't know about. So we keep up with each other. Truth and honesty is a gift. You don't have to do it, but it makes your world better when you do. It makes their world better. When these things are absent, I can give you all kinds of stories. What happens to you when they're violated, when no one does this for you. I've met a kid who nobody loved. I didn't think that's a possibility, but when I tell you nobody loved him, it's a fact. And I kept trying to tell him that God loved him. He kept saying, Mr. Hughes, you do not understand. I have no clue what you're talking about. Never had a birthday party. Family never took him anywhere. Just one with birth defects. The family was so ashamed of him, they left him at home. They hired babysitters. He was never included in anything. He went blind in his 20s. Now he's isolated, alone, can't see. He was born premature. As a result, they put him in a pure oxygen environment, damaged his eyes, and he went blind as an adult. There was no expression in his face, none. It was flat. And I kept telling God, look, Mr. Hughes, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. I said, Anthony, I don't know how to help you. I have one suggestion. Apparently somebody's picking you up and bringing you, or you wouldn't be here. He said, yes. I said, are they part of this church? Yes. Are you coming? I started. I said, Anthony, just show up. Just come. Just sit. You don't have to participate. You don't have to do anything. Just come and sit in church. I saw him about a year later. He walked in, and the first thing I noticed was he was smiling. That flat face was gone. I said, Anthony, you look different. Yeah, I'm a little different. What happened? I did what you suggested. It took about 7 or 8 months, and I started feeling something. Now, and his words were, I think I know what that love stuff's about now. He said, who loved you? He said, God. Then people. So when you hold things from people that they need, that you don't put in that vault, you're going to wreck their lives. Admission, availability. Those are all important. Acceptance, approval. We have to, those are gifts we give people. Your children don't have to earn your acceptance. You need to give it whether they earn it or not. You know, unfortunately, people have to accept my good and bad. I irritate people. Now, I've been in places they didn't like it because one of them told me, you're just an old man on a soapbox and nothing you have to say is spiritual. Yeah, I'm on a soapbox, and I'm old. I'll take ownership of both of those. Whether I'm spiritual or not, I don't know that you have the ability to define that. You've got to have the ability to get in admission. What's the opposite of acceptance? Rejection. It's easier to heal from cancer than rejection. It attacks every fiber of your life. Just reject me. It'll attack my self-image, my self-esteem, my decision-making abilities. I'll start questioning whether I'm doing things right or wrong. That's all it takes. Those are values, is the vault you build to put your diamond in. If your children are diamonds, then you have a vault for them. Your wife's a diamond, you have a vault for them. Your husband, diamond, you have a vault for them. And all these things, they're a whole lot more than these few I've named that people need. Without them, their lives are affected. Third principle, are law, are rules. What are rules? What's the difference between a rule and a value? Well, rules are the principles you develop to keep the chaos out of your home. Such as, what do you do with clothes when you take them off? That's a rule. What do you do with dishes when you get through eating? Those are rules. Or you put your shoes when you come in from outside. Those are rules. See, rules don't wreck your life. You break a rule, it might get you in trouble, but it will not wreck your life. You break a value, you'll destroy somebody. So rules just keep the playing field level. Everybody's got to have rules. Now, I gave you one about my daughter and son. We could apply the applications differently. You have the same rule, but application, you have to change it from person to person. The fine worked well with him, her. She didn't care about giving up her money. She didn't need it anyway. Him, well, I wrecked his world. So application changes, but the rules don't. See, if you don't have a rule about clothes, your house becomes a war zone. If everybody can just drop them where they take them off, somebody's going to break their neck. Cause you could run through the house and get them tangled up around your feet, wind up hitting the wall or something, you'll wind up seriously injured as a result. We just didn't. So, my wife taught my kids early in life how to do things. She made them make their bed starting at 5 years of age. Now, she started to fix what they made on, and I caught her one day as she went into the room and started rearranging the cover, and I said, honey, you can't do that. You're going to teach perfectionism to your children, and you're going to teach them they can't do anything right. So, if you're going to expect them to make their bed, then you got to live with the results. If it irritates you, close the door. I mean, the bed, it struck him about right here. So to make his bed, he threw his sheet up there and he crawled up on top of it, spread it out, got all tucked it in. Then he had to do the second one. Well, he's got to crawl back up there. That first one's going to get wrinkled. Top one's going to be smooth, not, and the bottom one's not. Then a blanket, then the bedspread, and it's crooked and it's touching here and it's high here. I said, you leave it alone. Don't you dare touch that bedspread, because if you go in there and adjust it, he's going to walk in and say, that ain't the way I left it. So I don't do it good enough for one of them. So whatever you expect them to do, then you gotta expect it's only gonna be done according to that ability at that point in life. As they get older, you don't have to tolerate it's crooked. Because they can back home and say, no, that's, fix it. You gotta have rules. Can an old man on soapbox show up? Either that's where you say I can or not. Your house needs curfew. Hello? Your house needs curfew. There's curfew at my house. I have 45, 46, and 50-year-old kids. I call them kids because they're younger than me, that show up at my house that still obey my curfew. My house. And you know what? They never showed up and rented a hotel nearby. They keep coming. Why? Because they know it's safe. I don't have to worry about it. I'm consistent. See, there's nothing good going to happen to your brain or your body after midnight. Nothing. God didn't design us to stay up. Before man invented light bulbs, electricity, we went to bed at dark, we got up at daylight. So God made it when your brain can't see light, it's dark, it starts producing melatonin, and that causes you to go to sleep. Because we've been dead lights. In most homes, there's no darkness, there's clocks, night lights. Your brain never totally goes to sleep. And it's causing all kinds of physical problems that we don't understand, that's a product of us just not being what He made us to be to start with. See, at nighttime, your room should be pitch black. If you got up, you're going to trip and fall because you can't see what it is. If it doesn't, your brain never gets into deep sleep, so it can't regenerate. And when it don't get into deep sleep and regenerate, then all these diseases start showing up and problems start showing up to the body. So we need curfew. My house is midnight. Everybody's in bed. If they're asleep or not, I don't care. They're in bed. And there's no lights on anywhere else in the house. So if they don't go to sleep, they're going to lay there in the darkness. But at this point, they've never had a problem going to sleep. When the sun comes up in the morning, we're all up. Because that's how God wakes us up. We can see light, the brain quits producing melatonin, so we wake up. When we invented light, we lost 4 hours of sleep, television 2 hours of sleep, the internet is another 3 hours. So we've lost almost 11 hours of sleep because of technology. You don't understand why we have high blood pressure, and we got diabetes, all these diseases start showing up. And we don't understand why. When we think we're Superman. We don't have to do those things. We can do this. No. As you get older, you don't need as much sleep, but from about 14 to 30, you need 10 to 12 hours of sleep a night. That's fact, folks. Y'all looking at me like, so y'all don't like me on my soapbox. Don't complain to God about being sick if you want to obey His rules.
Right, that's good.
Don't ask Him to heal. I don't pray for anybody anymore until I first ask them, have you forgiven everybody who's ever hurt you? Do you want me to pray God heals you and you haven't let it go and it's killing you? And so God's not going to heal you when you don't release it.
Right.
You let it go, He'll heal. What are boundaries? Boundaries define territory. You ask a man about boundaries, he used to talk to you about sports. Football field with stripes on the side, basketball field with stripes on sides and end, and baseball field with stripes on two sides. Ask a lady about boundaries, and they used to talk to you about fences. Well, they're both true. They define territory. So boundaries are the principles you develop to define what belongs to you, what belongs to somebody else. See this stuff right here? That's your boundary. Stay in it. It's not somebody else's, it's yours. So you can't expect somebody else to take care of this. They can't meet the needs of it. This is mine. I own it. I'm responsible for it. She's not, I am. The kids are not, I am. Our world's taught us to violate, but we don't even think about boundaries anymore. Boundaries are not important, so we're violating them. We're telling people how to feel or think. You shouldn't feel that way. It's okay for us to tell somebody else they shouldn't feel that way, but buddy, do we get irritated if they tell me you shouldn't feel that way? What do you mean? You don't know what I've been through. The world's making us just a tad selfish. By the way, Paul prophesied that was going to happen. In the last day, perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of themselves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemous, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, implacable, merciful, loving pleasure more than loving God, having a form of godliness. Okay, that's not what the world's going to look like. That's what the church is going to look like before the Lord comes. Selfishness, pleasure are the bookends of all this other stuff you're going to start seeing. That's what we're seeing in the church. Selfishness, me, pleasure. Pleasure is more, we think it's okay to indulge in pleasure. Well, pleasure is okay, but it shouldn't be our addiction. Because pleasure is what takes your conscience out. It's usually your pleasure that your conscience says, that's not good enough, stop. And when the conscience says, that's not a good idea, stop, and you don't, you unplug that nerve so that pathway is not available. It takes you about 9 months to get them all unplugged, where the conscience has no voice at all. And that's when you start doing things that you'll regret. It all started because we simply didn't follow, we didn't have the boundaries in our life like we should. Limits. Nobody knows my limits but me. So I have boundaries on my life that you may not have on yours. I don't care. Mine are mine because I know where my problems are. I know what my limits are. So there are things I don't do, places I don't go. Why? Because I'm not going to give this flesh an opportunity. You just set a limit. Okay. Value, values, rules, boundaries. What's the fifth one? accidentally said it a while ago. Laws. You know what laws are? Laws shows how lazy we are. Laws are the rules you create when you're too stinking lazy to develop value, rule, boundaries. If you don't have those first four, all you got left is to create laws. Why did God have to give Israel a set of laws? Because Abraham didn't value Sarah, Isaac didn't value Rebekah, Jacob didn't value Rachel. They never valued anybody in their life. So all God could give them was a set of rules to live life by. And the second Adam, which is Jesus, showed up. And he said, I want to show you how to do it in a healthy way. And he didn't give us a set of rules. He said, Paul said, that I'll write my law in their heart. This is the new covenant. I will put it inside of them. And if they'll listen to me, I'll keep them out of danger. See, God speaks to everybody in this room. See, I've never heard his voice. Oh, yes, you have. You just didn't know what you're listening to. Your conscience is God's pulpit. And when it works, that's God's speaking. Has your conscience ever told you to do something you weren't supposed to do? No. Your conscience is all stops you from doing things you shouldn't do.
Right.
That's the voice of God speaking in life. He's talking to all of us. That's his pulpit. And I can guarantee you today that what I've been preaching, memories have started showing back up. What was God doing? Bringing you back into remembrance of things in your life that maybe you need to pay attention to. Matter of fact, he may have even made you aware, you know what, there's some things that happen maybe I need to fix. You know what Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount? You bring your gift to the altar, and there remembers that thy brother has aught against you. Come on in, right? That's what he said. What did he say? You leave your gift in front of the altar and go first be reconciled to thy brother. See, the issues of our life are not the world, it's our family. It's what brothers do to each other, it's what parents do. The issue, no one can break your heart with somebody who loves you. So strangers can't break hearts, neighbors can't break hearts, bosses can't break hearts. It's people who openly declare they love you that have the power to break our heart. No one else can do that. Jesus said, if you bring your gift to the altar, you understand what he said? Where's the altar at in the tabernacle? Where is it? It's right at the front door. So Jesus literally says, don't come in. Is there family issues you haven't fixed? Do not come in until you go fix them. You go solve the problem, then come and present your gift at the altar. So all he's actually asking us is you simply repeat at your house what you experience at my house. If we truly acted like him, there wouldn't be chaos, there wouldn't be issues, there would be all this stuff happening that's happening in our world today. Wouldn't happen when we treated people the way Jesus treats us. We'll be kind to them. See, the world don't want you to have a good marriage. And the reason is, it brings conviction to them if yours is the best. Well, what your world needs to see is you show them the best example of what a marriage looks like. When you do, you'll change them. You'll place conviction in their life. But you know what I've noticed, when you make your world safe, people will wanna be around you. When my kids are only 13 months apart, they got married 6 weeks apart, had kids 20 days apart. We finally told them, stop, don't do no more of this stuff. They're silver and rock, we can just listen. They were like twins. But now I've been traveling for 40 years. When they were young, they traveled with me. As they got older, they didn't. My wife stayed with them, and I'd come home and I'd have to park a block away. There was no parking spaces on each side of the street. My driveway's full. I knew what was going on. I walk in my living room, there'd be 20 young people in there. All the furniture's moved. There's a ping pong table in the middle of all of it, and they're playing. They're having competition in my living room. I'd walk in and say, all right, what are y'all doing here? Well, we're playing. Well, you can't do that at your house? Well, sure we can. Well, why do it at my house? I wanted an answer. They knew it, because I was going to do it every time I showed up. Why'd you do it at my house? Because it's safe at your house. You create the safe place, they'll flock there. You don't have to beg them. You don't have to force them. You don't have to demand them. You don't have to badger or bribe. They're just going to show up because they know there they will never be hurt, injured. Those 20 kids still call my wife mom. Some of them didn't have dads. Dad died of cancer. Dads died of a heart attack. They were at our house. Because if we create the right environment, they don't just bless your family, but it starts blessing their connections. And they'll start wanting what you have, but you have to desire to have it. It's been an incredible honor to be here today. And I hope I said something that didn't irritate you too bad, but maybe challenge you to think a little bit.